Morning. Welcome to regular council meeting for the Corporation of the Township of Minden Hills for Thursday, September 25, 2025. In review of today's agenda, there's one public meeting regarding a zoning bylaw amendment, as well as we have three delegations and a closed session meeting that will take place after the delegations. Madam Clerk, please proceed with the roll call.
Counselor Sisson,
Present.
Counselor Saini,
Present.
Counselor McKelvey,
Present.
Counselor Yohannes,
Present.
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 Present. We respectfully acknowledge that the Township of Minden Hills is located on Treaty 20 Mississauga territory and in the traditional territory of the Mississauga and Chippewa Nations, collectively known as the Williams Treaties First Nations, which are Curve Lake, Rama, Hiawatha, Alderville, Scugog Island, Beausoleil, and Georgina Island First Nations. We acknowledge the shared presence of Indigenous nations throughout the area and recognize its original Indigenous inhabitants as the stewards of its lands and waters since time immemorial. I call this meeting to order at 9:01 a.m. Madam Clerk, please proceed with reading the resolution for the approval of the agenda.
moved by Counselor Ingram, seconded by Counselor Saini. Be it resolved that the September 25th, 2025 regular council meeting agenda be approved as circulated.
All those in favor? That is carried. Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest? Seeing none. We start with public meeting. Ms. Doherty, please join us. Go ahead.
Moved by Counselor Ingram, seconded by Counselor Saini, that council adjourn its regular meeting at 9:01 a.m. to proceed into public meeting regarding report 2568 planning application to amend zoning bylaw PLZBA 2025-069 Hooting.
All those in favor? That is carried. I'll call this meeting to order at 9:02 a.m. Today, there's one public meeting held by council under Section 34 of the Planning Act, being for application PLZBA 2025-069. The public meeting is an opportunity to present to council and the public the details and background to the proposed amendment and to receive comments from the public and agencies before a council decision is made. If a person would otherwise have an ability to appeal the decision of council to the Ontario Land Tribunal, but that person does not make oral submissions at a public meeting or make written submissions before the bylaw is passed, the person is not entitled to appeal the decision. Public meeting is declared open and is to consider a zoning bylaw amendment for Part Lot 11, Concession 14 in the geographic township of Snowden, having municipal address 1045 Carefree Drive. Would the planning department please summarize the purpose and effect of the proposed bylaw and provide any additional information and correspondence relevant to the application? Please.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor and Council. Through you, Mr. Mayor, the subject application was submitted by Melissa Markham Planning Associates on behalf of Charles and Jennifer Woodley. The subject property is developed in the form of a one-story detached dwelling with an attached porch and open deck, along with a one-story detached garage and sleeping cabin. The property owners are seeking to construct a 912 square foot two-story addition to the rear of the existing non-complying dwelling, as well as to demolish the existing non-complying garage and reconstruct a larger one-story garage with a proposed ground floor area of 720 square feet. Under the policies of the provincial planning statement, the subject property is defined as rural lands. The property is also designated rural land in the County of Haliburton official plan. Policies of both these documents permit residential and resource-based recreational uses, which are already established at the property. Development is to be compatible with the rural landscape sustained by rural service levels and to have consideration for the environmental and natural features. The property, again, is already established as being part of the surrounding character and will not otherwise impact current uses or service levels. The subject property is designated waterfront on Schedule A of the township's official plan. Maintaining a naturalized shoreline frontage has 4 primary goals under the direction of the official plan, being to ensure protection of habitat, prevent erosion, maintain shoreline character, and minimize visual impacts of the development. Based on staff review and as outlined in the report, these goals are being met through the zoning bylaw amendment. The proposed expanded development will have an increased setback to the lake, and the resulting construction footprint is not anticipated closer to the shoreline than the current disturbed areas on the property. The subject property is zoned shoreline residential in the township zoning bylaw. Permitted uses do include single detached dwellings and buildings accessory to residential uses. The proposed amendment would serve to impose site-specific provisions recognizing the reduced setback from the proposed dwelling addition and to permit the increased lateral width of the dwelling on the north and west shorelines while preserving opportunities to encourage further improvements should development be proposed or further development be proposed in the future. The new two-story addition to the dwelling being located to the rear of the existing dwelling further directs the development more centrally on the property and will achieve greater setbacks from both the north and west shorelines and the current setbacks. The proposed reconstruction of the non-compliant garage would maintain the setback to the south shoreline. The expansion is proposed towards the rear and center of the property, maintaining compliant setbacks to both the north and west shorelines, as well as to the required rear lot line setback. The application would also serve to recognize the increased footprint and height of the garage, as alternative locations for the garage would be limited. The south high watermark setback would also be recognized. Notice of today's meeting was circulated to neighboring property owners and agencies on September 4th, 2025, and a signed notice was posted on the property. In total, we have received 7 written comments related to the application, in which were either attached to the report if we received them prior to agenda deadlines, or they were circulated to council. 2 are from the same individuals, but in all cases, comments are strongly in support of the application.
Okay, thank you. Does the applicant have a presentation or wish to make any comments? Please state your name and address for the public record before your comments.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. My name is Melissa Markham Planning, 1025 Rebecca Lane, Huntsville, Ontario, P1H2J6. The application before you today, as you heard, is to permit an addition to be constructed on an existing dwelling and the replacement of an existing garage. The application proposes to construct a 2-story addition on an existing 1-story dwelling that is partially located within the first 15 meters of the shoreline. And the application proposes to replace an existing 1-story garage, which is located 17.8 meters from the shoreline. As staff provided, the application seeks to amend Schedule 15, and this would be to permit an exception to the shoreline residential zone. The application requires relief for dwelling height, lateral width, water setbacks for the dwelling, and height, ground floor area, and water setback to the garage. The application was submitted following a pre-consultation meeting with staff who had requested at that time that the lateral width of the dwelling be reduced. The owners reviewed their plans, and at this point, they're proposing a 2-story addition to the rear of an existing dwelling to minimize the width of the dwelling within the 15-meter setback to the lake. Planning justification report was submitted for the development, which addresses the provincial planning statement, the county official plan, and township official plan policies. As you heard, these policies provide that residential uses are permitted in this area, and while a 30-meter setback should be achieved, it's up to the local official plan to set criteria for appropriate setbacks. The township official plan provides that a lesser setback can be considered where existing setbacks are not being further reduced. The existing dwelling is located at a setback of 7.5 meters to the lake, and the addition to the dwelling is being proposed at 16.6 meters, which is greater than the existing. As the development proposes an addition to an existing dwelling, no greater setback can be achieved. The township zoning bylaw includes provisions related to the enlargement of non-complying buildings. As provided, the non-compliance with the existing buildings is the front yard setback to the lake. The additions to each building are being proposed to the rear, being a greater setback for the dwelling and the same setback to the garage. Due to the lot configuration being peninsula shaped, it's not possible to construct an addition without an increase in lateral width. However, as I provided, the increase is proposed behind the 15-meter setback to minimize any visual impact from the lake. The lateral width also does not take into account that the wall has been stepped back and it isn't a solid straight wall. That's the increase in the lateral width. The design is proposed to have a lesser visual impact. The height of the dwelling addition is also proposed to increase as to limit the floor area and the lateral width within the required setback to the lake. That's why the owners are proposing a 2-story addition instead of a single story. Further, the ground floor area is being proposed to be increased from 912 square feet. Currently, it is 950 square feet. This will be a total of 1,861 square feet footprint on the ground. The area of the garage is proposed from 316 square feet existing to 720 square feet. The percentage increases provided in the bylaw favor additions to larger structures, and the smaller size of the existing buildings is still limited to 25%. The overall lot coverage complies, and it is less than that permitted by the bylaw. The development has been sited in the most appropriate location to maintain setbacks to the lake, minimize the lateral width, and provide for the greatest setback for the additions. The owner and I have reviewed the staff report prepared for today's meeting, and we agree with the recommendations made by staff. We're also aware of the several letters of support that have been submitted to council, including the direct neighbors of the subject lands. We aren't aware of any opposition to the proposed development that's been received, and we're here today seeking council to approve the application and bylaw proposed. I'm here to answer any questions, and the owners are also here today. Thank you.
Thank you. Members of the public will now have an opportunity to provide their comments. Are there anybody attending virtually or in person with comments?
No, Mr. Mayor, we don't have anybody online that's participating electronically.
Okay, is there anybody attending who wishes to make comments? Seeing none. Okay, are there any questions or comments from council to the applicants, the planner, or anybody who has made a presentation? Seeing none. As a result of these proceedings, does the planning department have any recommendations or comments that you wish to bring to the attention of council?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the staff report recommends that council receive report 2568 planning as information, and that bylaw 25-97 being a bylaw to approve a zoning bylaw amendment for the land subject to PLZBA 2025-069 be referred to the bylaw section of the agenda.
If there are no further questions, this completes the public meeting process. Anyone wishing to obtain notice of the decision may do so by making a written submission requesting such to the township's clerk. I now declare this portion of the public meeting closed at 9:12 a.m. Okay, go ahead.
Moved by Counselor Johansson, seconded by Counselor Saney, that council adjourned its public meeting and resumes regular council meeting at 9:12 a.m.
All those in favor? That is carried. We start with delegations. Carly Stevenson, please join us at the table. Go ahead whenever you're ready.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. My name is Carly Stevenson. I am a resident as well as the owner of Always in Boots Country Dancing, which is one of my few businesses that I have in Haliburton County. I've been teaching line dancing all over the county since February of this year. And the support has been overwhelming. What started as just maybe a hobby has turned into a really wonderful line dance community, something that I think people have been craving, not just the dancing, but the connection that comes from it. My goal for this fall through spring is to offer 2 weekly classes, one being in Minden and ideally one being in Haliburton. One for absolute beginners and one for dancers who are looking to improve their skills. So progressing as we go. I have kind of pulled my dancers, and I have dancers of all ages, literally from 7 to 70 plus coming to our classes. And one of the concerns that we have come this time of the year is that it does get dark earlier here and we are seeing more wildlife on the road. So I have already had unfortunately, a line dancer hit a deer, which I know I can't eliminate travel in our county, but I am trying to find locations within the towns to keep us dancing rather than, say, Stanhope or West Guilford. That being said, people will be traveling regardless. What I'm requesting is a reduced rental rate for the community center. So the community center is currently $86 plus HST for a minimum of 4 hours. It seems to be targeted more towards, you know, the events that we do, Jack and Jill's, things like that, not necessarily something like this. What I'm requesting is a 2-hour rental rate at $35 an hour plus tax, which comes to $40, including HST approximately. I am looking for a weeknight evening pending availability of locations, obviously. So it could potentially be a Monday, Wednesday, or a Thursday. I'm considering if I can stay in Minden, I would like to keep Wednesdays if possible, depending on availability. My classes, although I have turned this into a business, so I do have business expenses. I have insurance, I have music licensing, I have training, the time and energy that goes into putting these classes together. That's not my goal. Like I said, what we're doing here is we're building this dance community. And I like to keep my classes as affordable as possible. I want the single family to be able to show up. I want the people on the retired folk to be able to come if they're on limited income. And that said, my classes are, depending on if they sign up for a series or drop in, $7.50 to $10 per class. An average drop-in class for a line dance session is $10 to $15. Obviously, $15 being more city prices. It is set up a little bit different than, say, your typical fitness class. A fitness class, for example, is an hour class, and it can be anywhere from $15 to $25. So it is a little bit of a different dynamic. We are intending to make up that price difference in number of people attending rather than the price per person. So that's a bit of my explanation there. Maybe I'll pull at your heartstrings a little bit. These classes have truly, I'm gonna cry. So when I taught line dancing, I had no idea. I thought it was just, you know, I teach paddleboard yoga and it's just a yoga class for some. Line dancing has become, people with anxiety are now leaving their houses. People are coming out to do something solo that they've never done before. The single mom with 3 kids is able to show up. And as you can tell, it looks like just a line dance class, but when I say it so much more than that, like I truly mean it. I get messages from participants after every class that pull at my heartstrings, hence the tears. So I'm gonna stop talking now.
So and maybe I know I'm not really supposed to ask that, but I do, can I just ask the question of Candace just quickly? So just basically then it's a 4-hour minimum that we currently have for rentals upstairs, right? But we're not using the kitchen, we're not doing, it's just, you're just using the hall portion, right? Obviously in the bathroom. So, sorry. Sorry, if you don't mind, Candace, if that's just so I can have some clarification on. Yeah,
Through the chair. So the $86, that doesn't include the kitchen.
No.
That's outside of the kitchen. rental.
okay, that's what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is the line dancing is not using the kitchen or the. or
Yeah,
a bar
that's
or
not
anything,
in
it's
that
just for
fee.
the hall. So my question is then to staff would be, how, it doesn't matter why you set up the 4-hour minimum, but would it be that big of a stretch to put it to 2 hours? Even if, I mean, it's $4 an hour difference that you're requesting. So even if we kept the rate at what a 2-hour rental would be, because obviously if we're offsetting the line dancing, then that's tax dollars that are offsetting the line dancing. But is it possible just to go to whatever the base of a 2-hour rental would be? I think it works out to like $4 an hour and an HST difference. Is that would that be like something difficult for staff, or would that change the rules for everybody, or is it? I mean, I know council has the last decision, but you understand what I'm asking?
I know what you're asking. So through our fees and charges, that is the rate that is set through the bylaws, the minimum for 4 hours rate. So it would be.
Okay, so but what I'm asking is if we allowed for a 2-hour rate for this event, would that be a hardship to staff that there has to be like a turnover in between cleaning and that kind of thing, keeping in mind that they're only using the hall portion.
I might direct it to the clerk. I believe we would have to change the fees and charges.
Correct. So that would be an amendment to the fees and charges bylaw, and which you could. I mean, typically whenever we bring forward your fees and charges bylaw, we always give notice to the public for feedback, for that particular bylaw. You could still, council could still waive the fees, at a reduced rate. But typically, a best practice would be then you would set that rate for anyone wishing to rent at that 2 hours as opposed to 4. So we would actually bring that bylaw back and have that discussion.
Thank you.
I just want to get clarification on a couple of things here. Right now, our rate is $86 per hour
No, like it's a minimum of 4, like it's a 4-hour block. So
for
if you-
$86.
yeah, so if Carly books, it's a block. So a block of that, it's a minimum of 4 hours that you book.
But is it $86 for the 4 hours or 86 per hour?
Well, it's the minimum is 4 hours. We block it for 4.
It's 86 times 4. That's not 2 hours. 3 hours.
Okay, because I thought our bylaw said 86 an hour. So we're talking room 2, which is the small room, correct?
Small, it's small, like smaller, but not, it has the same, very similar capacities.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure everybody knows that we're talking the small room and not the main hall.
Well, I would like clarification on that
Yeah.
because I've only been I have not seen it divided at all. So I've only been in the one section and I was under the impression that it was, I'm not sure how you guys, what the small room is, like there's no tour for this. So I've only been in as to the Jack and Jill. So I'm not sure what you guys divide the spaces. What's the small, is the small a different room or is it closed? Yeah. And so which section would that be?
If you walk in the main part, it's on. Where the kitchen is,
Yeah.
stand at the kitchen with it at your back and look down the hall. There's an exit door on the right.
Mhm.
That's the start of number 2 and the end of number 1. There's a wall that comes right across there.
Yeah.
So number 1 would be behind that,
Yeah.
and then to the left.
Because it's an L, right?
That's community.
Yeah, the whole room is, yeah.
Okay.
The part of the L is 2 and 3. The long part would be, well, I guess you could look at it either way, but let me just show it to you this way.
Yeah.
So here's the kitchen.
Yeah.
Number 1 would have the wall that comes across here.
Yeah.
And number 3 is because we're talking about, so this is 3,
Mhm.
2, and 1. 1 is the Jack and Jill room that you're talking about. Quite often it's 1 and 2.
Yeah, I've only seen it be open. so-
Yeah, so there's a wall that goes across here.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Just, if we're gonna revisit the bylaw to the fees and charges, maybe it's time to look at an hourly rate for those rooms. As opposed to a 2-hour rate or, okay.
Yes, thank you through the mayor. I feel like this is a dragon's den for some reason. I mean, we all want to be part of this program, I think. We're just trying to figure out how to make it work. So really appreciate you coming forward with this. And we know everyone around the table, I know, thinks that this is going to be great for our community. And I'm thinking about getting my cowboy boots out too. So I think we're in support of it. I think we just need to figure out how we do it within our bylaws to make sure it's fair and transparent to everybody who might have similar programs. But the other thing that I'm thinking of too, and you pointed this out, it's around the community health and mental health of our community and getting the strength of our community back after so many issues around COVID and all those kinds of things that we've seen. So I'm also thinking that I would encourage you to look at some other grants for the kind of thing you're doing, and maybe I can help, connect with some of the things that are out there. Because there are grants, particularly around and encouraging activities that support mental health. So that's a discussion later, but I think everyone's in favor of this, and I really thank you for bringing it forward.
Thank you.
Looking forward to it. Thank you.
And I will just say one additional thing, like what we do at West Guilford is I will also sweep the space afterwards. So everyone brings indoor shoes and then I sweep the space afterwards. So ideally, I mean, there could be washroom use in that period of time, but for the most part, like we leave it as it was when we walk in. Yeah.
Thank you. I totally support this. I've watched your classes. I haven't participated yet, but hopefully I will one day. But I agree with everybody else that engaging with the community, and you've got the young and old out there, and during the winter months, it gets a little, sometimes sad for people. So good on you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other question, Councillor McKelvey?
I think we need to clarify the room because there's quite a difference in the size and the rate. I have to question the boots on the floor, and I know in a previous life that I had that the damage to the floor was significant for cleaning up afterwards as far as the scuff marks. I don't know if that's been considered. The other question I have is, where were you before in Minden that you were holding it?
So over the summer, have been using the Dominion. Prior to that, we didn't have a Minden location. There is the Lions Club Hall is available. That space, again, confirming location, you're completely correct. We definitely need to confirm that because the space at the Lions Hall, I'd be restricted. And so the number of participants based on their fee, it just wasn't going to even out. So I wasn't doing anything in Minden up until the summer when the Dominion opened that back room up for us. So participants were coming to West Guilford for our classes. And then the Pine Stone has also allowed us to use their grand ballroom, which the flooring in there, needs some repairs. So we've been able to do Minden and Halliburton throughout the summer, but both of those will be coming to an end.
Okay, any other questions? Ken, that's fine.
I just want to let council know that the township does have a partnership program with for situations as Carly is requesting to do, where the township, we partner with them so they get the room that's included with it. There is a set rate that we do in that partnership. It's usually an 8-week session, but then the township is doing the registration, and like the registration fees going to us, but then we do pay the instructor for their time. But then they're just only if they have their private insurance would cover that. And they would just do it with WSIB clearance certificate that they're an independent contractor, which the township helps them to do. And if they don't have their private insurance, then we would be working under the municipality LCIS insurance, and it's approximately $88 per session.
Okay. I'm going to suggest that since there's some confusion on the room, and B, it obviously not necessarily certain that, the fees and charges bylaw can just be split in half or whatever it is, that if we could get something back from staff after you've had some further discussions here. And so we would just receive the report and ask for a report back, and we can, make a decision after we have that. Councillor Saini?
Yeah, and supporting what you just said, I'm wondering if there could be a sense of timing, because I know putting the word out there that this is taking place and stuff. So just to get a sense for everybody. Thank you. And all those who might be ready to sign up.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I think Ms. Quiggin and I can work on a report for next council meeting.
Yeah.
So Counselor Sisson and Counselor McKelvey are the mover and seconder. All I've added is, and further that council directs a report back from staff regarding potential hourly fees for rentals to the next council meeting. Are you comfortable with that amendment, or did you want something further? Yeah, you're okay with that. Okay. Moved by Counselor Sisson, seconded by Counselor McKelvey. The council receives a delegation from Carly Stevenson, Always in Boots Country Dancing is information. And further that council directs a report back from staff regarding potential hourly fee for rentals to the next council meeting.
All those in favor? That is carried. Stevenson, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We next welcome Brad Parsons with Engage Engineering, who's, I guess, virtual. And Mr. Timmons.
Hello, everyone.
Okay.
Can you hear me okay?
We can.
Perfect.
Mr. Timmons, I'll let you start and we'll go from there.
Sure. This will be mostly a presentation from Brad from Engage. This is just in relation to the sanitary capacity assessment that took place sort of the end of last year and throughout the spring of this year. So I'll hand it over to Brad. He'll go over some of the stuff and then of course be able to take some questions at the end.
Perfect. Thank you, Mike. Everyone can see my screen okay here for the presentation?
Appears so, yes.
Perfect. Well, thank you. Good morning, Mayor and Council. My name is Brad Parsons. I am the Municipal Group Manager at Engage Engineering here in Peterborough. We were retained by the municipality to perform a capacity assessment on the Minden sanitary sewer system. The main goal is looking at some of the capacity of the sewers in order to support some possible developments in the future throughout Minden and various sites. So we were aware of up to 4 sites that might come online in the not too distant future throughout Minden, and we kind of assessed the capacity all throughout the village based on those future developments. So there was 4 sites in total, as I mentioned. Site 1 is an approved site, as you can kind of see in the northeast corner of my screen here. And then sites 2 to 4, they're more in the pre-consultation phase and aren't finalized yet. But we were kind of hoping to look at it as a whole to see what effects might have on the system. So the existing system, as I'm sure everyone is aware, is the one wastewater treatment plant system kind of in the southwest corner of the village, 2 sanitary pumping stations with force mains and a network of gravity sewer. So we kind of assessed all of these items when it related to the possible developments in the future.
Just before we go any further, just, one of the big projects that we know of is the expansion of the long-term care facility. But I believe that there was no information available and that was not included in this study up to now, correct?
That's correct, yes. The study, yeah, there wasn't available flow information quite yet for that long-term care facility.
Councilor McKelvey, do you have?
So I think before we go too much further, I'd like to know where these other developments are, because I'm not aware of them. And I also have serious concerns that we didn't include the long-term care expansion. We've known about it. We supported the master plan. We have had discussions with them. So I just don't understand.
Mr. Timmons?
Yeah, so as for we've been requesting flow data estimates from the healthcare from HHS. Once that's provided, we can work that into this model and get some estimates. At this point, we don't have that information. So rather than speculate, this is what has been presented to us at this point. When we have the additional information, of course, we will revise this and come back for further discussion. As for locations, my instructions in conversation with the planning department is that at this point, certain parts of this are still confidential, and I was asked to keep them off the present.
Okay, I'll hop back in. So as mentioned before, that this approved site one is kind of located in the northeast corner of the site. It is an affordable housing development. They're about 35 units. And then the other sites still in the pre-consultation early phase are a mixture of apartment units, condo units, and kind of a larger commercial development. So we took the approximate flow data for each of these sites based on some MECP flow numbers and then applied them across the system. So the first piece that we looked at here is the wastewater treatment plant. It currently has a rated capacity of approximately 945 cubic meters per day. And the existing average daily flow rate is about 82% or 774 cubic meters per day. And that is based on historical flow data from 2024 being the most recent year of data. So it does have a bit of residual capacity, about 20%, or 171 cubic meters per day. So if all these sites did come online in the future, there would be quite an additional flow of up to 700 cubic meters per day or just over. So the treatment plant could really only accommodate approved site one or site three within its current configuration and capacity, and then upgrades would likely be required or some slight modifications in the treatment plant to accommodate these other sites in the future. The next thing that we looked at was the sanitary pump station 1 on Ord Street. All 4 of the proposed sites would flow through this pumping station. The current flows are only at about 20% of its capacity. With all the proposed developments, it would be only at 55% of the capacity, so there would not be any upgrades required here. The next thing that was studied was sanitary pump station number 2 on Invergordon Avenue. So sites 1, 2, and 3 would all be directed to this pump station in the future. The rated capacity of it is at 17 liters per second, and it's currently flowing at close to 10 or 58% based on available flow data. So adding all 3 of these developments would push it above the rated capacity of the system. So there would need to be some upgrades prior to the full build out of all developments, but site 1 and 3 would be able to be accommodated, and upgrades really would only be required to accommodate site 2, which is a bit of a larger proposed site with some a number of apartments. And the last thing that we analyzed was the gravity sewer. So that's the slope sanitary sewer throughout most of the village. So this is done looking at the sewer capacities based on an estimate of the existing, and then we apply the proposed flows to each of these sewers. So we look at the zoning and the number of units in each corresponding sewer section, and we apply some MECP flow data across each section of sewer. And in the existing conditions, there is no issues at all. Sites 1 and 4 do not require any sewer sizing upgrades, but sites 2 and 3 possibly pose some constraint issues, about 380 meters of sewer as highlighted in yellow in this screen. You can see here there is a potential issue due to some flat pipes and some additional flows. So these capacity constraints are based on conservative flows from the MECP, and the actual flows are likely much less. We see this in many other municipalities across the province where these theoretical numbers that the province gives us don't match what we're actually seeing that's coming in at the plant. So we are recommending completing some additional flow monitoring along the stretch of sewer, and it could show that no upgrades are required. And then in addition to that, a topographic survey of the sewer would also be a good idea. This whole study was based on mostly as-built data where available, and that data is just a bit dated from whenever the sewer was constructed, so that could date back to the 60s or 70s, and sometimes the constructed sewers differ from the designs from those dates. So, and in a quick summary and next steps, so the site 1 that's been approved can definitely be accommodated with no wastewater upgrades. Beyond site 1, there is some slight upgrades that might need to be required in the treatment plant. The Ord Street sanitary pump station will not require any upgrades, and then the Invergordon Avenue sanitary pump station only requires upgrades to accommodate site 2. And then the gravity sewer, as just mentioned, upgrades may be required to accommodate site 2 and 3. To confirm if that's required, we are recommending some flow monitoring at a few locations downstream of those sites to confirm those needs for upgrades. It's likely that we might be completing that this spring. I think Aqua is coordinating some quotes to do this work, and hopefully that will show no capacity issues after that. And then lastly, we might complete an upgraded topographic survey of that sewer in question. So, and then just on the wastewater treatment plant upgrades, we have had discussions with Aqua about this. They're aware and they're reviewing options at this time to increase some of the efficiencies in the plants and potentially complete some I&I upgrades, which would be inflow and infiltration, just identifying areas in the system where water might be getting in that's not actually sewage and removing that to free up some plant capacities at this time. So they're looking into that right now, and I think we'll be reporting back on that in the future. So anyways, that's my presentation today. I'd be happy to answer any questions that Mayor or Council might have.
Mr. Timmons, do you have anything to add before we go to questions?
Not specifically, just highlight that Brad's final point. The initial, I don't want to jump to this idea that we have to look at expansions. We want to look at efficiencies. What can we do to potentially not expand the footprint and just make the plant being, an older plant, some of the I&I, maybe there's something we can do to increase efficiencies and therefore claw back some of that capacity.
And just one thing before, what percentage of the flow is stormwater?
That is difficult to say, but part of our proposed flow monitoring next year could help us show that. If we put flow monitoring in the spring and leave it in through the dry months, we could probably get a pretty good idea of how much of that reduction could be attributed to stormwater.
Mm-hmm.
Questions? Councilor McKelvey?
So the next steps, we're being asked to consider approving these right now, or this is something that's going to come back?
Yes, that's correct. We're not asking for anything right now. This is just an information session. I will work with Aqua over the next little while to come up with what we would propose as next steps.
Okay, and if I may?
Go ahead.
Again, I'm going to bring this long-term care expansion, which, really is housing, and that's just another really good housing project for the community, because as people move in to that facility, their house becomes available. We supported their master plan. I know that, I don't know what you need to have from them. I know we were told there's going to be 98 additional beds, 30 additional staff, 72-piece bathrooms, 5 tub rooms. Is that not enough to do a calculation? I don't know.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we can certainly follow up on that level of detail. Some of it is just understanding their flow rates, but we'll take this offline and we'll try and push to get the information that we can then feed into this modeling, because we do understand the importance of this development in our community. From my standpoint, I would see this as the first in a number of conversations with council about development and about our utility capacity over the years. And I would concur with our presenter and Mr. Timmons that it could mean upgrades to infrastructure, but there is a lot of work we could do around making things much more efficient. So just want to put that to council.
Councilor Saney?
Yeah, just to say thank you for this kind of update, what's in the process, because we do get questions about these sorts of things. And so I appreciate the update. And I also want to see if we're considering some of the alternative technology that's going into wastewater processes. We've all seen the presentations by Frontenac, and so there might be some things in terms of costs and new technologies that we might want to introduce here. So if you can include that in your studies, that'd be great. Thank you.
Any other questions? Any final comments, Mr. Timmons? Please go ahead.
Moved by Counselor McKelvey, seconded by Counselor Sisson, that council receives a presentation from Engage Engineering regarding the township's sanitary assessment as information.
All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you, Mr. Parsons. Probably gone into the ether by now, but so are we ready with the fire master plan? Chief Kruger, I'll let you introduce your guest and the subject.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chair, and good morning, council. This is the culmination of a project that was started last winter with the tender for a fire master plan that Lumex was awarded. And with me today is Mike Villeneuve from Lumex, and he's here to present the plan and the recommendations to council and hopefully answer any questions that may arise from it. So with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Villeneuve.
Thank you, Chief. You can hear me? Good morning through you, your worship. Morning to council and staff and anybody online listening. So yes, the Lumex Group was awarded the contract to prepare a master fire plan for the Township of Minden Hills, and I'm here to give you a brief overview of that. And so if we could have the first next slide, it'd be great. So I'll do a little overview, which next slide. So when we're doing these things, we use some guiding principles to help us develop a document that's basically a roadmap for the chief and the department moving ahead. So we look at what the best fire protection services would be for the safety of the firefighters of Minden Hills, the best fire protection services for the safety of the residents of Minden Hills, what are the most cost-effective fire protection services again, and which fire protection services will help Minden Hills avoid necessary future costs. And we let those facts guide our decisions and recommendations regarding fire protection for your community. Next. Next, please. The Ontario Fire Marshal's Office a number of years ago developed what they call the 3 lines of defense, and we also use these as our guiding principles. So the number 1 line of defense is public education. Number 2 is code enforcement, and at the end, the last one is fire suppression. So performing fire suppression has a higher cost than delivering public fire education and code enforcement. So we always want to stress public fire education and code enforcement before suppression. Implementing fire prevention initiatives can help us reduce the need for fire suppression services. There will always be a need for fire suppression, but if we can reduce the number of times that those trucks roll out of the station, that's a win. So next, please. Next. So what's the purpose of a fire master plan? So we want to ensure that the department is compliant with the Fire Protection and Prevention Act and any other legislation that that applies to it, as for instance, the MTO with their licensing and requirements for vehicles. We want to provide a clear picture of a community's current and anticipated fire protection needs. We also recommend strategies to protect lives and property by enhancing public education, code enforcement, and fire suppression services. And then we also want to provide information to guide administrative, operational, and budgetary decisions. Next. So how do we do that? So we start with a startup meeting. We sit with the management team of the fire department and find out where they are at, where they think things should go, just to get a feeling. Then we hold some stakeholder engagement sessions, which was done with this body. We also did that with the firefighters and officers of the department. Once that's done, we start collecting data from the department and any other agency or department within the municipality that we feel is necessary to help us build some data. We analyze all that data and we draft a report, and then we issue a final report after consultations with the chief and CAO and make sure that we've covered everything you want covered, and that we haven't made any glaring errors with names and whatever. We want to make sure that the document is right. So we draft a final report and then we come and present our findings. So that's where we are today. So next slide. So the stakeholder engagements, as I mentioned, we met with mayor and council of the township. We also met with the CAO Fletcher. We also met with Chief Kruger and the officers and firefighters of the department. So what are our findings? The findings, when we're doing that, we have to look at a lot of different areas. So we look at the community demographics, the overview of the fire department, legislation and standards that apply, any bylaws that you have, any fire service agreements that you have. We look at recruitment and retention, communications, both internal and external with the department, any stakeholder considerations that we've picked up on. We also look at emergency management requirements, look at the occupational health and safety, fire prevention and public education, training and certifications that are required, the levels of service that your department currently provides. We look at performance standards and response statistics. We look at your water supply, asset management, records management systems that you have in place, any operational guidelines or policies that the department has, and we look at the fire station itself for any areas that need to be addressed. So within the recommendations, this particular plan only has 8 recommendations, which is a very small number for a fire master plan, but there are other initiatives that are outlined in this document. This worked quite well in this document to have recommendations and initiatives. So each recommendation that's in the document has the following considerations. Does the recommendation need to be implemented for compliance reasons? So for instance, does the province of Ontario require Minden Hills to do X? If it does, we'll identify it and come up with a solution. Does council need to approve the recommendation before it is implemented? Does the recommendation need to be included in regular budgetary process? When should the recommendation be implemented? Whether it's short-term, medium-term, long-term, or whether it's an ongoing recommendation. So we look at all of those things and roll them into a recommendation. Next, please. So as I said, this master fire plan also contains 24 other initiatives. And the initiatives refer to items that were discussed throughout the process when we're developing this. And these initiatives refer to items that are already in progress, that may have been completed during our time writing this, and or are being completed as we speak. So that's what the initiative side of the things is. Next, please. So we get to the recommendations. So the first recommendation deals with recruitment and retention. And what we're saying here is that the fire chief should work with existing members of the department to develop a recruitment and retention program designed to recognize volunteer firefighters. Program should be presented to council for consideration and approval. Now, is this mandatory? No, it's not. Does it require council approval? We feel it does. Is there an impact to the budget? There probably will be. And we're saying, let's get this done in the short term to improve our retention and recruitment of the department. Next. The next one is dealing with occupational health and safety. We're saying here that the fire chief should develop a health and safety or a health and wellness program for the Minden Hills Fire Department. Is it mandatory? No. Does it require council approval? No. Is there a budget impact? There could be. So we say yes. And time frame, short term. And this is health and wellness is not just physical health and wellness. And one counselor spoke to mental health earlier in the community. Mental health is a big thing in the fire service, and that's what this would really be driving towards, is mental health issues. So next. Training and certifications. The fire chief should investigate the possibility of developing a training facility of some sort within Minden Hills in order to provide the practical portion of the training that the department is required to complete. Currently, they have to travel outside of the community to do this, and that takes the firefighters out of the community, and that could leave could end up in a mess. Let's be honest about it. So what we're saying is you need some kind of a practical training facility within the community so that the firefighters can get there, during the weekend or an evening, do their training, and they're still within the community to respond. Is this mandatory? No. Does it require a council approval? Absolutely. And is there a budget impact? Yes, there will be. And time frame, we're looking at a medium time frame because it's going to take time to secure land and whatnot, build something small and equip it. So there's going to be budget impacts. Next, please. Oh, driver's license, training and certifications. Okay, so in order to help the Minden Hills Fire Department retain its personnel, this body should consider providing some financial support to the firefighters so they can obtain and maintain their driver's licenses that they need to operate the department's fire apparatus. Is this mandatory? It's not that you do this, but you would need council approval if you decide to move ahead with this. Is there a budget impact? There will be, and the time frame, again, it's medium term. What this is driving at is a few years ago, the province really changed things in that for somebody to maintain their driver's license for a DZ minimum license, it's very expensive now because there's medicals involved, and it's an expensive process for an individual to go through to keep their license up, especially if they don't use their license daily or that type of license. If somebody's just driving from home to their office, they require a G-type license. But if they respond from their office to the fire hall and need to take a truck, now they need a DZ license. And they don't use it every day in their personal life, but they need it to drive a fire vehicle. So it's very expensive to keep these licenses up. So that's what this one is about. Next, please. This one's dealing with performance standard and response statistics. What we're saying here is the chief should continue to monitor the effective response force deployed by the department. Should focus on whether the fire department needs to increase its staffing levels, particularly during regular business hours, weekends, and holidays. If the chief identifies any gaps in the department's level of service, he should recommend applicable updates to council for consideration and approval. Now, is this mandatory? No, it's not. Is it require your approval? Yes, it will. And is there a budget impact? There most likely will be. Time frame, just ongoing. He should be monitoring this stuff, starting to monitor it now. So, or looking back into past records and finding out what times of the days, what days of the week are problems for the department to muster an effective response force. Next, please. Next one, fire station assessment. Council should ensure that the operating budget for the Minden Hills for Minden Hills in general continues to allocate funds to the department so that they can use the funds to maintain and upgrade the fire station. And you may think this is kind of crazy because it's a relatively new station, but a lot of times these buildings are built and they're forgotten. But you got to maintain buildings. It's infrastructure. It's like your car. You got to keep washing it and cleaning it and doing the maintenance on the wheels and the drivetrain and the engine to keep that thing functioning. This is no different. So, and you may want to look at doing some upgrades to it in the future. So you got to continue to fund this thing. Is it mandatory? No. Council approval? Absolutely. Is there a budget impact? Yes. And time frame just ongoing. Next, please. Water supply. Minden Hills should conduct a water supply study for the non-hydrant protected areas of the community. Study should aim to determine whether it's feasible to install dry hydrants in those locations. Should also identify the best locations for dry hydrants in the township as applicable. Is it mandatory? No. Council approval to do this? No. But there could be a budget impact if you find some locations and you decide to install hydrants, there will be a budget impact. Time frame, this is long term. This is looking out a few years. So next, please. Oops, I think we missed one there. Yeah. Asset management. Council should continue to use its budgeting process to provide the department with the funding it needs to replace all its fire apparatus and fire service equipment that has reached its life expectancy. So you really need to have an asset management plan. So you know when the trucks need to be replaced, you know when the air compressor needs to be replaced, the breathing apparatus. All this stuff is extremely, extremely expensive. You put fire on the invoice for anything and the price is up here. You'd think it's gonna be down here. Just an axe, for instance, you know, you can go down to the hardware store and buy an axe for $40. I would, what is it, a couple $100 now for an axe that's firefighting? What, close to $400. I've been out of that chair for 3 years, so the prices are just continuing to go crazy. So you have to budget for it, project where it's gonna be in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, so. Anyways, I think that was the last recommendation we had. So if there's any comments or questions, I'll try to answer them. I wasn't the lead writer on this particular plan, but the lead writer lives on the other side of Ontario, and I was asked to come and do this presentation. I am familiar with the plan a little bit, but I really encourage each and every one of you to sit down and read the plan and understand what's there. The answers are there for your questions. You just have to read the plan. So, but anyways, I would be happy to try to answer any questions that you may have.
All right, questions, comments? Counselor Saney?
Yes, thank you through the chair. Very informative. Thank you. I'm learning. And one of the things that I never thought about before was the cost just to get your DZ license. I know is extremely expensive. I looked into that once. And that's something that we're expecting our volunteers to come with. That's a huge cost of training. So I'm glad that you brought that to our attention as well, and supporting particular volunteers as well as staff. And then also, I wanted to clarify, what is a dry hydrant? Because that sounds like really important in our rural areas and what we have and what we don't have, where we're expanding, how we expand, talking about new technology earlier in terms of waste. So maybe you could explain a bit about dry hydrants too. Thank you.
Sure. Through you, your worship, to the counselor. A dry hydrant is basically a pipe that is put into a lake or a stream or a river body of water, could be a pond. Someplace that you put it deep enough that it doesn't freeze. It comes into the ground and then it comes out of the ground with a connection on top of it that's accessible to the fire department to hook a pumper truck up to and draft water. So that in the wintertime, they don't have to get out on the ice, cut a hole, drag pumps, drag hose, all that stuff. Those are all safety issues as well, but this saves time. So it's a hydrant there's no pressurized source, but there's a lot of water sitting there. So they just draft it.
Yep, go ahead.
Thank you. Just to follow up to that, do we also go down to the aquifer on some of those dry wells, or are they always usually a body of a river or a lake? Thank you.
No, you wouldn't go, again, through your worship, you wouldn't go into the aquifer because then you're drilling, you're basically drilling a well then, right? So this is just into a static body of water someplace, yes.
Fortunately, we have 600 lakes in Southern County. Councilor McKelvey.
So I'm not positive about this, but any of the larger commercial developments that aren't in town on the water system, they have to put dry hydrants in. No,
Chief, I can answer that through the chair. So it may be a requirement under the building code, but it is not always required. But that is something that we typically ask for. So for some of the projects that were discussed earlier, when I was asked for my comments on these proposed developments, one of the things that I had suggested was perhaps we should look at putting a cistern in on site so that we could have a water supply on site for the ones obviously that are not serviced by fire hydrants within the municipality.
right, okay.
So, oh, okay. So a couple of questions. When we looked at the 8 and then the 24 that are buried in the report. So, you know, for instance, on the idea of training, did we consider the fact that, you know, we've got, you know, the 4 fire departments here in Haliburton County that have, you know, mutual aid plans and so on, to look at, instead of Minden Hills developing this, that, you know, one be developed that is shared by Minden Hills or something like that. I guess I'm a little bit confused. It seemed that everything seemed to be focused just on Minden Hills.
Yes, through the chair. So we do have, there is a facility up in Algonquin Highlands that we use for our recruit training program.
Right?
And so all 4 municipalities use that for the recruit training program. However, for just our weekly training, it's quite a drive to get there. So it's not something that we could do, say, for our Monday night training. We say we want to do some live fire training. We're going to go do live fire training up in Algonquin Highlands. We'd have to travel all the way up there. That's taking us out of Minden Hills. And, we're now not able to respond quickly within Minden Hills. So the report is suggesting that maybe we build something in Minden Hills so that we can use just for our regular training and afford us the ability to do more live fire training within the municipality without having to travel.
Okay, and then the next question on the, we seem to have covered the mandatory stuff. Virtually everything you're recommending is non-mandatory, and it's, you can see the benefit of it. There's no doubt about that. But I guess I'm trying to get a sense of particularly smaller and rural fire departments. How many are like, where do you fit on the continuum of, how much of this you've managed to accomplish? Because if I look at the 24 other recommendations, just the amount of administrative work or work in general that would be required to get all those up and consistently accomplished and, up to date, like, how realistic is that for, rural fire departments, and like, where do we fit in on the percentile of, compared to other folks?
To you, your worship, you're no different than any other municipality. If we look back 20, 30, 40 years ago, a volunteer fire department for a community was just a bunch of good old boys, right? That's not the case today. Today, if you need a license to cut hair today, 5 years ago, you didn't need to be certified to fight fire or save somebody's life, but you needed a license to cut hair. So today the world has changed, and we as a fire service, and I include myself in that because I spent 42 years in the fire service. We as a fire service, we've got to get with the times. So we're always trying to move those yardsticks ahead to catch up to where we need to be, so that we're covered legally. We're covered with our training. We're covered with our insurances and all of those kinds of things. We're always striving to be better. But you are absolutely right. The administrative side of it is a nightmare. And it's especially when it's a 1 or 2 person show that's doing it. You can't even stay current because you're always trying to fix stuff that's back behind you. So you're always trying to move ahead. It's almost impossible to get caught up today. Even for the biggest departments in this country, they're always trying to, oh, what's next? Like, we didn't realize we had to be doing this. There's always something coming around the corner. But Minden Hills is no different than any other municipality your size in this province. When we are doing these master fire plans, it's very common to have 30, 40, 50 recommendations. Your department is in pretty darn good shape with respect to the legal side of things, where they stand. So you're in pretty darn good shape, considering you've had a huge turnover in administration in the last 5, 6, 7 years. You've done well. So kudos on that. But yeah, you're in good shape comparatively. I couldn't put a percentile on it because we haven't done those studies, but you're just from the gut feeling that I see when I'm out there doing these kinds of things, you're in good shape. You're no different than anybody else. Every municipality struggles with stuff, and unfortunately, the volunteer fire services are struggling. but yours is in pretty darn good shape, to be quite honest. You've got a good fleet, you've got a good building, you've got a core of volunteer firefighters there that are there for the right reasons to serve their community. You really need to support that and build that up. So
Thank you.
you're in good shape.
Councillor McKelvey.
Thank you. In the report, table 1, for the list of recommendations, the numbering seems weird, like it's 7.1. That's 11.1. Like, is there some missing in there that we're
No.
taking out, or
No.
why is it jumping all over?
Yeah, that's just the way the Lumex group does it. So, recommendation 17-1 deals with section 17 of the plan. So if the recommendation has a 17, go to section 17. If it's 8-2, go to section 8 and you'll find it in there.
Yep, thank you. The other thing I wondered about is list of other initiatives. And some of those, in my estimation, seem to be a priority, so I just wondering why they weren't actually in a recommendation. And I'm gonna, the handshake deal for a handshake agreement, that's concerning to me. I didn't realize we had that.
Through the chair. So the initiatives portion are points that are either already completed or are in the process of being completed. So for example, the handshake agreement you referred to, I believe it's with the town of Bracebridge. I'm already in consultation with the new chief in Bracebridge, and we're working on a new mutual aid agreement that will be formal, not just a handshake agreement. So some of the things that were labeled as initiatives, they're labeled as initiatives because they're already either completed or in the process of being completed, and don't necessarily need to be a recommendation because they're already being worked on.
So the other thing was the stakeholder engagement seemed to be indicating that council was involved in that, and I don't believe I was, so I'm just wondering. I mean, there was a survey we were sent, but there was no meeting with council.
Through you, your worship. Again, I wasn't the lead on that, so I'm not sure how our lead writer did it, whether it was a survey or whether he met virtually with people or came in and sat. I don't want to speculate on that because I don't know. Through the chair, I know there was some in-person meetings with members of the public, obviously with the fire service team, mayor, CAO. I believe council was provided with a questionnaire and
Yeah,
an
that's not,
email response.
yeah, that's all we received was the questionnaire thing, not an actual consultation that I would, but I think that there's some really important stuff in here, and I would like, and I think the resolution is suggesting that we would get quarterly updates on the recommendations, but I'd like the initiatives to be included in that as well in the updates. Okay.
Through the chair, that can certainly be part of the quarterly reporting. Absolutely.
CAO.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, if I can just comment, this is a big document. There's a lot of information in it, and what we're looking for today is that council receives it for information. Every one of these recommendations would almost be mini business cases. If we were to bring them forward to council, they need to be fleshed out in much more detail. To the mayor's comment, there may be things that we would be looking at partnering with other groups. And I think to Councillor McKelvey's comment, we can certainly provide an update on the initiatives as part of that quarterly reporting. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Seeing none, thank you very much for attending, and I'm sure you have a resolution.
I have a resolution just received this information. Okay, moved by Deputy Mayor Shell, sorry.
Councillor McKelvey.
I personally would just like it added that quarterly reports be brought back to council on the recommendations and the initiatives included in this.
So Deputy Marshall and Councillor McKelvey, so I've just added a line on further that council direct quarterly reports from staff. On recommendations and initiatives? Is that what I'm hearing? Okay, yeah. Moved by Deputy Marshall, seconded by Councillor McKelvey, that council receive staff report 2510 Fire Master Plan and a presentation from Lumix Group regarding the township's Fire Master Plan as information. And further that council direct quarterly reports from staff on the recommendations and initiatives.
All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you very much. We're going to be going into closed session next. It's 10:15. In keeping with demand, we will have a break till 10:30 and we'll enter closed session at that point. Thank you. We'll do it when we get back.
If we do the resolution of going to close now, then staff will be able to have that all done within the 15 minutes that you've graciously provided us. If we wait until we come back, then we do that and then they do their magic. Just trying to limit your 15-minute breaks, that's all.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
Fine, read the resolution.
Okay. So moved by Councillor McKelvey, seconded by Deputy Marshall. Be it resolved that council proceed into closed session at 10:16 a.m. for the purpose of discussing the following. One item pursuant to section 239(2)D of the Municipal Act 2001 as amended regarding labor relations and employee negotiations, staff conduct. One item pursuant to section 239(2)F of the Municipal Act 2001 as amended regarding advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose. Legal opinion.
All those in favor? That is carried. Okay, welcome back. Open session resumes. Please read the resolution.
Moved by Counselor Saney, seconded by Counselor Ingram. Be it resolved that closed session adjourned at 11:04 a.m. and open session resumes at 11:15 a.m.
All those in favor? That is carried. There's not really a report from closed session, but we should just do the motion.
Okay, moved by Counselor Saney, seconded by Counselor Johansson. Be it resolved that the direction given in closed session be approved.
All those in favor? That is carried. Adoption of minutes from the previous meeting, adoption of the September 11th minutes. Any comments or amendments? Seeing none, please read the resolution.
Moved by Counselor Ingram, seconded by Counselor Saney. Be it resolved that council approves the September 11th, 2025 regular council meeting minutes.
All those in favor? That is carried. Payment of accounts for September 11th, September 25th. Any comments or questions? Counselor McKelvey?
Just something I wanted to point out, we just had to pay $24,438 and change to the province for our license renewals on our vehicles. It would be nice if they would maybe waive those fees like they do for our personal ones. Something to just take up. That's a lot of money. You start adding that all together for 5 lower tier township, or 4 lower tier and an upper tier.
Well, something we can look into. I'm not sure if that is for the small vehicles or if it's just for the trucks. Do we know? Sure, if you can.
Through the chair, that's for our CVR heavy duty trucks. Our light duty regular pickups fall under the renewal for free.
Okay, so it's just on the big trucks now. Well, we can ask. All right. All right. Any other questions? Please read the resolution.
Moved by Counselor Ingram, seconded by Counselor Saney. Be it resolved that the accounts in the amount of $3,706,759.32 be approved for payment.
All those in favor? That is carried. Mayor's report, just to note that we'll be raising the Every Child Matters flag at the municipal office on Monday, September 29th at 10 a.m. The flag is raised in advance of the Orange Shirt Day and the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation, which is September 30th, 2025. And just to note that township facilities will be closed on that day. Going over to Roma Board.
Hey, thank you. Through the mayor, a few things to report, particularly around upcoming meetings, conference planning, and some sector initiatives. I have to tell you that after attending the county's business session yesterday at our community center, along with our mayor and some other counselors here, I took my report and put it through one of the AI programs and asked them to add comedy. I will not be reading that today, but it is available. So I just want to start off by mentioning that the meeting schedule and conference preparation is underway. So that will be taking place at our October 16th and 17th meeting of the whole and our board meeting coming up. And also so the primary things on our agenda will be the focus on planning for the Roma conference, which is set for January 18th to the 20th. Council members are encouraged to begin considering potential delegations and to prepare concise impact presentations for the sessions. Maybe we already have one, which was just mentioned regarding the $24,000 for vehicles. The licensing, the event provides municipalities with that opportunity to engage directly with provincial ministers addressing the effects of provincial policies and support on rural communities. It is important that our council members communicate those specific challenges facing our communities and any other relevant and worthy discussion that we want to have with the ministers directly at that time. The other thing we'll be discussing is the agenda and the programming. I'm really pleased to support that Chantel Hubey will return as our keynote speaker, presenting on topics related to the public policy and national politics. Her previous address received really favorable feedback, with attendees noting her insights and candid analysis of current affairs and her ability to address challenges and questions with professionalism and wit, and particularly appreciated. She did take questions from the floor as a keynote speaker. That was just phenomenal, and people were really fond of that. And so we're really excited that she's able and willing to come back and be at our conference again. Another item happening is the AMO Healthy Democracy Forum. So we're having the second one this year. That will be following the it'll be on October 18th and 19th. So if you can put that in your schedules, it will be taking place at the Western Harbor Castle. And if you book today, there is a very steep discount on rooms for this event, but you have to sign up by the end of today, September 25th. So please, if you're considering that, go on the website Healthy Democracies at amo.on.ca, where you can sign up. So this forum aims to address the growing challenges of incivility within our sector, which have impacted staff recruitment, retention, and our elected officials and voter turnout. So these are the things that we want to really, that AMO is going to be focusing on. The event will bring together leaders from municipal sector, academic experts, and other key stakeholders to collaborate on fostering positive change and maintain momentum. Initial sessions will then focus on voter participation as well, which is something that we might be able to try to pick up on here, and how we're going about encouraging more voter turnout. I can't neglect saying, though this is not directly related to AMO, that we're very pleased. I want to bring attention to the healthy democracy work that's being done at our local level. There was a healthy democracy program held in Dysart at the Legion there last week. Great turnout. So we have many of our grassroots folks and organizations coming together and creating some other gatherings for our local communities. Their next one is scheduled for October 7th from 7 to 8:30. So it's nice to see that this work on healthy democracy is taking place through AMO, but also here in Haliburton County, really fortunate that some people have picked up and are providing this information to our local residents at these local meetings too. And finally, I just want to report that a little update from the Student Scholarship Program, that the Roma Board remains committed to supporting its Student Scholarship Program at Trent University, Lakehead University, and Guelph University. And we have approved that for an additional 5 years. This initiative has been well received and continues to promote youth leadership and critical thinking skills through post-secondary education. The ongoing investment in student development demonstrates the board's dedication to fostering the next generation of community leaders. So I'm very excited about this program. It was great to see these activities, and for the universities to bestow these awards to their students. It was great to be around young folks with critical thinking, some healthy debate, looking at differences and how we all see things differently and concerning different points of view. It's so great to see that kind of critical thinking when so much of our communications is coming through, quick to, things on our phone, Facebook and things that are sometimes swaying us more so than being able to really academically and critically look at some of the issues before us. So I think that's about the end of my report. Look forward to any questions, and please consider the events coming up. Thank you.
Okay. Moving on to correspondence and communications. Nobody asked for anything to be pulled, so please read the resolution.
Moved by Counselor Hennessy, seconded by Counselor Saney, that council receives correspondence and communication items 14.1 and 14.2 as information.
All those in favor? That is carried. We move over to Public Works. Ms. Kosh, you're going to be talking to us about automotive materials.
Good morning, council, and thank you through the chair. So the purpose of this report is to seek council approval to execute the Hazardous and Special Products Services Agreement with Automotive Materials Stewardship, Inc., effective January 1st, 2026. So this service agreement with AMS is for designated antifreeze, oil containers, and oil filters that we collect at our hazardous waste events. To give council an idea of the financial implications, in 2024, we collected $944.78 at our events. So with the increase in payments that's being offered by Automotive Stewardship, we will see an increase in the revenue that we get for this. So this is a great amending agreement, and we're excited to see this and extend this. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Please read the resolution.
Moved by Counselor McKelvey, seconded by Deputy Marshall, that council receives report 2506 Waste Management Hazardous and Special Products HSP Services Agreement with Automotive Materials Stewardship, Inc., and that council approves the Hazardous and Special Products HSP Services Agreement with Automotive Materials Stewardship, Inc., Attachment A, and further that bylaw 2596, Attachment B, authorizing the mayor and clerk to execute the agreement, be referred to the bylaw section of the agenda for approval.
All those in favor? And it's carried. You're allowed to plug your event this weekend if you want. You're allowed to plug your upcoming. But you're not going to?
Are you going to acknowledge your? Yes, you can do that.
Yeah, sorry, I can, give a shout out. So yes, we have our confidential paper shredding event. Sorry, I'm looking forward to Friday. Confidential paper shredding event taking place on Saturday at Scotchline Landfill from 9 until 1, and we will be collecting donations on behalf of the Minden Community Food Center. So we're hoping to have a good turnout, just like our first one in June. So thank you
Say
for your.
looking forward to Saturday.
I'm looking forward to Saturday, yes, and Friday.
All right. Mr. Timmons.
Thank you, Mayor Carter. So I don't have anything to plug, no. She does have some time off coming up, so it's probably for the better. For you, you have report 2511 for Public Works Department. This is annual re-up on the agreement between the county and the township for the winter maintenance of Horseshoe Lake Road and Deep Bay Road, known as County Road 2 and County Road 20. I have raised the rates 5% from last year, and the sand is being charged has also been adjusted to reflect this year's rates.
Any questions? Councilor McKelvey?
So I mentioned this to Mike before, so this isn't completely coming at him from left field here, but I did some checking to see what everybody's rates are. And they're all over the board, and I don't understand why this isn't something that's coordinated at the county level. Because while each distance is different on the road, that's not a factor here, but the rates are based on an hourly rate for the truck, the equipment, and the driver, okay? In this case, where a truck, plow, and sander and a driver, in Highlands East, it's based on 126.69. In Minden Hills, it's based on 123.11. In Dysart, it's based on $150.90. And the county pays Dysart $160.92. This is craziness, and I think a lot of them are taking into consideration that, you know, the $250,000 tandem truck that was only in 2000, I think was the last check I signed for one, now is like almost $500,000. So they need to increase these rates based on what it's costing for this equipment in an accumulated value over the
Replacement
10
value.
years that you might get for it. But I really feel strongly that we deserve the same based on an hourly rate that the county would charge somebody else, or at least we should get the same as Dysart's getting, which is a lot more than what we are. So, you know, the grader, for instance, Dysart's going to charge 202.45 an hour. Ours is 105.92. We're not even closely covering the cost of this equipment on an amortization basis. Patrols are right out of whack as well. So I would really like to see that these go back to a coordinated thing at the county where everybody gets paid the same amount based on the same hourly rate. I realize each length of road we're plowing is different, but
I can certainly go back if that's council's direction. I can take that back, and I will have to go back and obviously change these rates and get county approval, because we have discussed in the background that theoretically this would be the agreement. If I can get that, I can certainly bring it back.
The question actually came up at county council yesterday also, about the fact that, you know, these numbers were divergent, but I think it's worthwhile.
Sure.
I mean, you know, at the end of the day, I'm not sure what it means to us, but depending on how much it snows and how icy it is, it could mean a significant amount of money. And I think it's particularly relevant to because the replacement cost of those vehicles and the risk of with those vehicles is, you know, we should be getting paid. Do we in fact have does the county do any work for us?
No.
No, I didn't think so. Okay. Councilor McKelvey?
the other thing that I noticed is that Highlands East charges overtime, which I think we should be too, because they're a higher standard. So we're out on the weekends to do Deep Bay Road or Horseshoe Lake Road, where we are incurring time and a half for our operators. So again, it's all over the place. Everybody's a little different and it needs to be consistent. And I think if Highlands East is getting paid for overtime, then so should Minden Hills, and should Dysart and Conklin. And
Right. So you'll take it back?
Sure.
Councilor Saney?
In the last two comments too, I'm just wondering if we want to put some type of general motion together to make it to support our staff taking it forward. Is that, I'm seeing the CAO saying
Well,
it's not necessary. Sorry, thank you.
I think, I've been taking notes, and I think Mr. Timmons has taken notes, and I think we get the gist that council is looking for consistency and council is looking for us to recoup our costs.
I think we'll leave it to staff to work that out.
Oh,
And Mr. Mayor, if I may, my concern is if a resolution is too restrictive, then it might just hamper our discussions.
yeah.
We know what we want. Read the resolution.
Proceed. Okay, so Councillor McKelvey and Councillor Sisson, all they did was just remove that last paragraph, which refers to the bylaw and passing of the agreement. If you're comfortable with that. Moved by Councillor McKelvey, seconded by Councillor Sisson, that council receives report 2511, Public Works Roads Winter Maintenance Agreement, County of Halliburton as information.
All those in favor? That is carried. Community services.
Good morning again. So before you is report 2518 for the Minden Hills Cultural Center Advisory Committee, the July meeting minutes. Is there any questions?
Seeing none.
Moved by
Councillor McKelvey?
It's sort of related to this. It's the county library board issues outstanding items to, I assume you, I'm not sure who, for items in the building that need to have attention. So it seems that, and I don't always watch the library board meeting, but sometimes I do. And the last one I watched, they were talking, they were going to send these repeat concerns to the CIOs now. So I'm hoping you have this. But there's things at our cultural center. I mean, there was a window broken 2 years ago. Surely we don't need to wait for the next year's budget. Like, we just need to fix the window. I was actually there when that was broken, so I don't know why it's taken so long to get these things. There's repeat outdoor lighting they're asking for. That could possibly be a budget item. The railing needs to be secured. Again, they've been asking since 24. I don't think it should take that they have to escalate these to the CIO level here. I think we just need to get these things addressed. We look, as Minden Hills, look very badly when you look at the list of outstanding items. Ours continue to show for multiple years. So I know it's not part of this cultural center committee, but it's the same building. So I thought I'd bring it up.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, we have the items and I'll be reviewing them with staff.
Councillor Ingram, were you? Oh, just, okay, yes. All right. Yeah. Go ahead.
Moved by Counselor McKelvey, seconded by Counselor Sisson, that council receive report 2518, Community Services Department, Minden Hills Cultural Center Advisory Committee meeting minutes dated July 15th, 2025 as information.
All those in favor? That is carried.
So moving to report 2519, the award RFT for BB 2025-001 demolition of Lachlan Community Center. As per council's direction, June 12, 2025, before council is the report of the tender results. Does council have any questions?
Deputy Mayor Shell.
I don't know if it's a question or a concern that the building will be demolished and then a new building might not get put back up. And I'm wondering, and I know council did agree with this, so I'm just throwing my ideas out here, but I'm wondering if, I mean, the building is closed to the public, nobody's going in or out. I'm wondering if it should be left as it is for now and be part of the building process. It might actually be a little bit cheaper if it's included in it. I know I've had some concerns from some of the members of the committee as well, so just want to put it out there.
Councillor Sisson.
Yes, I agree with that. I've always been in favor of keeping this building and maybe try to restore it someday. So it would be a shame to demolish it and then find out we can't do anything else there. So I would agree totally with Deputy Mayor Schill.
Councillor McKelvey.
So my thoughts on this were that it was supposed to be put out at the same time, and I have big concerns that if we demolish and then we don't go forward with a new build, that we can't even have the option then to renovate. So I would really like to see that this tender, we could accept this tender if we want, but only authorize the work when a new build has been accepted by council.
I would say the when and if, obviously, right? Because, you know, it still has to go through a process to get approved.
Well, and I think that's the concern of the community, is that if part that you just mentioned.
That's fine. And that's,
I'm not prepared to accept a tender to demolish this building if we're not going to be rebuilding. And we did direct it at the same resolution, so your if concerns me.
well, I mean, it's an if on anything that's on our budget. So we, you know, council would have to approve any build here. So I can support the what Deputy Mayor Shell has said, you know, that as long as the building is not falling down and is of danger to anybody, that you know, we determine what's going to happen on a rebuild or what we're going to build, and then put the project together.
And I think the if is more important than the when, because it might not happen in this term of council, so
Right.
we might not be in the 26 budget, which I would
Right.
love to see it that way, but might not be
There's a
might not be
question
viable.
here. On this side.
Thank you. I just want to recognize that this quote might not be the same now, later as it is now. And also businesses have to monitor what projects they're taking on. So there is a time and finance factor where this would change if we don't do it now. But certainly we have to get a community center building there. That's something that's not even, in my mind, a negotiable issue. We need that community center. So on how we do that in the most affordable way. Thank you.
Councillor Ingram.
For you, Mayor Carter, it says in this resolution from June 12th that the RFP was going to go out for the prefab building at the same time as the demolition. Has it gone out?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, no, the tender for the new build, we can let it this afternoon. We didn't put it out at the same time. I'm going to assume that the staff member who led the tendering process looked at demolition very differently than a prefab building and was trying to, demolition contractors might not have bid on the
No, I thought they were
contractor-
going to be two separate tenders, but
Right.
at the same time. You know what I
And-
mean?
and-
Yeah,
and-
that's what it says in the resolution. It says council directs staff to proceed with an RFP for the development of a prefab building not exceeding 800 square feet for Lachlan property, and further council directs staff to proceed with the demolition of the community center. Sort of, that's another part there, but yeah, it was supposed to be done at the same time.
And I think that may be just staff's misunderstanding.
Okay. So as soon as we can get that out, the sooner we can decide on whether or not we can go ahead with this demo, right? Help, isn't it?
Is that a question?
I think Councillor McKelvey wants to say something.
Councillor McKelvey.
Good. So we already authorized a tender here, so I'm still back to your if. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be rude here, but we already authorized a tender for a rebuild, so are we not really committed to that? Because we shouldn't be tendering things if we're not committed. Because if it comes in, if it comes in at $5 million, obviously it's not going to happen.
That's my if.
Okay, if that's your only if,
Well, look, I'm not deciding whether or not we're building a building. If whatever the tender comes back at, we as a council decide whether or not we're going to spend that money. It's a council decision. That's all I'm saying.
there's legalities to that when you put out a tender.
Well, we have to get pricing, obviously. That's,
I think you need to have your CIO speak to this if we could, because there is definitely legalities in putting out a tender if you're not going to take.
Yeah, and so in Public Procurement Council, when you do put a tender out, that is sort of the first stage of a contract. And so it is assumed that you have an intention to do the work. I can take back, I'm not sure what I'm hearing is whether we're pausing this contract that we have already put on the street, or we're adjusting it. I'm not sure what we're doing, but perhaps I should seek some legal advice on how we handle this tender. And I guess that begs the question for another tender.
and then the second part of that is that if we're saying that we are going to go ahead with this build, I don't see how we can possibly approve it without doing our budget. As we may find that we don't have the money next year, or we may find we do have the money, or we have a limited amount of money. So I think it all becomes part of the budget process. Because we're not going to just here agree that, we're going to say we're going to spend $500,000 as an example, pick a number, on this project. If we don't have the Councilor McKelvey.
We had a report in June that gave us estimates, and council committed to this and passed a resolution that directed staff to proceed with an RFP for the development of a prefab building not exceeding 1,800 square feet. This was June the 12th. If it was thought on June the 12th that we can't do anything until next year's budget, we should have stopped doing this. Like, what, we sent staff to do something. It was to be at the same time as the tender for the demolition. It doesn't matter. That didn't happen. Now we're faced with this. But if we're going to not commit to this, what the heck did we pass our resolution for directing staff to do this? We had a report with estimates. So I don't know why. And you know, maybe it comes down to the mayor's budget, like you don't have this in, or
Well, the budget is the budget. It's, I mean, it's the Township of Minden Hills budget. I mean, we're still early in the process. I don't know what some of our numbers look like right now. But it's, if council is willing to commit that we're going to spend X amount of money right at this instant, then that will be council's decision. I guess I would recommend that we find out what our budget looks like, how much money that we do have. Councillor Saney?
Yeah, just to keep the ball rolling. We have this quote, "This is great, the best of the proposals here." How long will it take to get the quote on then the construction? And if we put that out to tender, as they suggested, even this afternoon or tomorrow,
Yeah, I would,
what's our time frame to bring this back to council?
through you, Counselor Saini, through the mayor to Counselor Saini, we would look by the end of October, we would know. However, it goes back to, I think, what Counselor McKelvey is saying. We have provided at various different times that order of magnitude budget estimate for prefab buildings, new buildings, that sort of thing. The dilemma with putting a tender out is it is signaling an intention to do something.
Councillor McKelvey?
if we're not committed to doing something here as far as moving forward with the new build, I absolutely will not agree to demolish the old. And I don't want it sitting there it needs to start being maintained. Like, this is just around and around and around. This has been discussed at this table several times. It was discussed at the budget meeting. I asked for money to be put in the reserve or into the budget from the levy for this building to show a commitment. Budget came back, changed that it was coming from reserve. So but we really need to say we're committed to this hall, or quit issuing tenders and wasting staff's time and absolutely infuriating our members of our community. I don't want to have any more part of this if we're not committed. I am committed, so.
Councillor Saney?
I think we're committed to doing this. How we budget it is huge. There's so many different options and possibilities. We build it over time. We build it, there's different ways. There's Infrastructure Canada for funding. So I do think we're committed to doing this. So I don't see the problem legally of putting out this tender, because we are committed to this, barring anything absolutely crazy. At this point in time, the only thing I can think of is that I want to make sure it's large enough for square dancing or for, but I think we are committed to this as a community. We recognize the importance of having these buildings and these community spots throughout our rural areas. So I think this is a priority as much as anything else, but we have to then find the way to fund it. And I think the community's behind it enough to help with that. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Shell.
Listening to what everybody has said and hearing what you had said as well, Mayor Carter, about, you know, the if and being in the budget, but thinking back then on June 12th, we actually did decide as a council that we were ready
Okay.
to commit to this. And I think we should probably
What was our,
carry through.
what was our budget number on June 12th? Pardon me?
We didn't have a budget number on June 12th.
Okay.
We didn't do our budget in June.
No, but what, did we have an estimate?
We
of
had
what-
several estimates that staff put a lot of work into, went to the committee, back to council, went to the committee, back to council. Council finally made a decision.
my
But in
question-
all honesty here, this is your budget under the strong mayor's power. If you don't support this, we just need to quit wasting everybody's time.
Well, we're talking about the 25 budget right now, which is different than 26. So what was our estimate? What was the estimate on June 12th? Do we have that? So the question comes, are we willing to, move forward on that based on the $500,000 spent?
Yeah.
Okay. Right, so we're saying that.
So
we're
why
gonna-
didn't it happen? Number one, because it says right here it was to happen, Mayor, okay? And that's a problem, because when we ask somebody to do something, we're expecting it should be done. And now we are sitting here arguing about this again. If it had just been done, we'd have probably been in a position to make a decision today. Not though.
So we can issue the tender for it this afternoon. Obviously, if the number comes in, so that our total is over the 500,000, whatever that the number is, then we have to review it. Go ahead.
So, Mr. Mayor, staff will issue the tender as directed. I think in terms of this tender that you are considering today, there are two choices. Either we award it right away, or there's, I think, Councillor McKelvey, you were looking to tie it to the new build.
Councilor McKelvey?
I don't want to approve this tender. I can live with approving the tender subject to the actual demolition not being completed or even started until we have awarded a tender for a new build. My fear is we're going to tear down this building and not rebuild it. And then we have lost that opportunity to actually renovate it. So I don't want to award the tender unless it's subject to that. I'm trying to find the report, which I have now found. We were provided with a report on June the 12th meeting. Option 1 was construct a new 1,800 square foot community center on the same property, 900,000 plus applicable taxes. Option 2 was relocate the existing building, renovate and remediate, $1,050,000 to $1,150,000. Option 3 was remediate and renovate the existing structure where it is with current AODA compliance, and it was 585,000 plus taxes. These were estimates. True cost would not be known until the tender was received. So my 500 was way low. We directed staff to put out the tender for no more than 1,800 square foot. Trying to
Sorry, could you just read number 1 again? I didn't.
1,800 square foot community center on the same property, 900,000 plus applicable taxes. So we committed in June to do it. I honestly don't feel that the commitment is unanimous here, and I will not agree to tear down that building. And I think we've wasted 2 years of staff time and 2 years of committee time. And I don't know how to put that to rest, whether we put out a resolution on the floor to commit. Which again, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, Mr. Mayor, but you do have the power to decide. So it really is you that's going to tell us whether we're doing this. So it's your budget.
Well, but yeah, for our next, the 2026 budget, not
You can
2025.
veto our right now.
So, you know, that's not even on the table at this point. But it comes down to the $900,000. I mean, is that, you know, is that what we can afford?
Well, we shouldn't have put out a tender to demolish them. That's disgraceful.
So, Councilor Saney?
Just trying to find a direction here. We did approve this back then. So everybody knows that. It's in our minutes. We all did that. We've got one of the proposals back, which is good. Proposed for us today to accept. The other one, we can put that out shortly and that can be back by the end of October. And so that's, yeah, there's a few weeks in between, but things can move forward. I think everyone that I'm aware of wants to see this move forward. We know the value of having a community center in our rural areas is extremely important. And I think there might be ways in that tender, and this is just a little bit of a new point, is that within that tender, there might be ways to say, this is the building, this is how much it's going to cost. But then it depends on if you're going to have a cement floor or a whatever floor. So there might be some options in that to, over time, that would add to the cost, or see where some of the community could participate in fundraising to do something different. So that's tricky to word a tender that way, I know. But there's some options. I would just like to see this second tender go out and move forward with the whole thing. Thank you.
CAO.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, just to be clear, the tender that has been developed was based on council's direction for a prefab building. And the cost you would have had in June would have been what we deem in the construction industry order of magnitude. They're not refined numbers. It was to give council, you know, the potential magnitude with contingencies built in. So we would see that as an upset limit, but that's all I can provide council. We're ready to go if that's council's direction.
So I think we probably need a motion. Well, to issue. Sorry, did you?
Mr. Mayor, we have direction to issue the other tender. I think that the direction is really related to the tender that is on the council agenda today. I mean, unless council's reconsidering the direction given on June 12th, we have our direction. I think from my perspective, we're here with the demolition tender, and it is perhaps staff's mistake to have separated the two, but it is what it is right now.
We need the motion to say that, you know, I think it's been pretty clear that nobody wants to go ahead with the demolition until we have resolved part 2. And so we need a motion to say that we're going to not approve that today. But you know, wait until the outcome of the second tender. Councilman Kelly?
At first, I indicated that I would like to see us accept this award of this, accept this tender, subject to it not being implemented until,
Yeah.
so.
However,
but
something like.
I don't know if we're gonna be into some kind of legality here, because what if we don't accept? Because it does, like I've said, I don't feel in my heart of hearts a commitment here. Not a unanimous one, so I just need to make sure that we don't get ourselves into some kind of.
Well, we may. If we don't go ahead with it, we may, but there may be ways around that too. So.
If I may, counsel, just hearing some of the comments around the room and the uncertainty today, I think it may be best if we just defer for now to a future meeting. It will give staff an opportunity to seek a little bit more legal advice. And then we'll bring this back to the table once we receive that on how to proceed correctly. If council is comfortable with that suggestion.
I would like to see those thoughts on it, if I may.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I think it could go either way. I think to Councillor McKelvey's point, I mean, we have groups who have put work into this tender itself. We have who we believe to be the successful proponent. So council, you could conditionally award the tender, or to the clerk's point. I think no matter what happens today, there needs to be a conversation with the potential successful proponent, whether they're willing to hold their price and that sort of thing. So.
Councillor Saini?
Yes, I like that conditional, and if we know by the end of October and they're willing to hold this agreement till the end of October when we have more information on the other proposal, I think that would be best. And there's also a time factor here in terms of whether when they're going to be doing this. So we're looking at October, so I'm not sure what the time factor is when we're thinking of this starting.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the tender that council is considering today had a time frame of by the end of the calendar year. So we do have some leeway there.
Okay. So what do we need?
Sorry, through the chair. So the only amendments that I'd be making to this resolution then is that council direct staff to award the RFTBB 2025 and the third party's name conditionally in the amount and acknowledge the amount, and then finish the resolution excluding executing agreement. I have wording in here that council directs this project proceeds subject to the award of the tender provision of the prefabricated building. I kind of drafted that when everybody was discussing, but I just need to know how you wish this worded otherwise.
Councillor Sisson?
I would like to see this deferred at least till the end of October when we see the price of the new one. That's my thoughts. We need to hang on to this until we get something on paper.
I think we defer. It sounds like the easiest way if they've given us to the end of the calendar year, then let's defer it and get the further information.
Okay, so Counselor McKelvey and Counselor Sisson, the amendment would be, and further that council defers this award to a future council meeting. Or defers this resolution. Defers this matter. What would you like put in? Do you want me to say, I just thought if we get the information back sooner, then we'll come back soon. But to the end of October then?
The mayor, my understanding is.
Go ahead.
My understanding is that if we put out a tender, we'll have a report back to the last council meeting in October, at which point we'll be.
Not sure what the dates are. on
Yeah.
that.
October 30th is the next council meeting date. Like for the end of October rather, sorry. October 9th is the first. October 30th is your last meeting of the month.
But if the tender is open till the end of October, we can change that, I assume. Well, we're gonna issue it this afternoon.
This afternoon.
Right.
So then we will be doing both as we intended.
Yeah, I just don't want to say that we're gonna discuss it on the 30th and we don't get tender
That's why I
until the
said future.
31st. Yeah.
So change,
End-
so
end
to
of
be
October.
clear, to the end of October?
Yep.
Yeah,
This. Yeah, for this.
yeah, that's what I'm writing, October 30th, regular meeting of council, yeah. Okay. So the amendment would be in further that council defers this award to the October 30th regular meeting of council. This council, okay. Moved by Councilor McKelvey, seconded by Councilor Sisson, that council receives report 2519 award RFT BB 2025-001 demolition of the Loughlin Community Center, and further that council defers the award to the October 30th regular meeting of council.
All those in favor? That's carried. Back to planning.
Sorry,
Oh.
lunch is here. Mr.
Oh, I didn't realize
It's okay.
it was here. All right, what time, Deputy Mayor Shell? Okay, we'll break until 12:40 for lunch. Welcome back. Our manager of planning has joined us, so please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you. So report 25-68 is for the zoning bylaw amendment application, PLZBA 2025-069, that we had the public meeting for this morning. And I don't have anything further to add.
Any questions? Seeing none.
Moved by Counselor Saney, seconded by Counselor Ingram, that council receive report 2568 planning is information, and that bylaw 2597 to approve the zoning bylaw amendment for land subject to PLZBA 2025-069 be referred to the bylaw section of the agenda.
All those in favor? That is carried.
Through Mr. Mayor, report 25-69 is related to a severance agreement, which is a condition of consent applications H-11-24 and H-12-24. The agreement would require development, particularly construction activities, to employ various mitigations, mostly related to wetland features, based on the outcome of an environmental impact study that was completed in support of the consent applications. There are also some considerations for species at risk and in particular butternut trees. Bylaw 25-69 is recommended for approval in order to execute the agreement.
And there were provisions put in there to protect the trees and so on, right?
Through Mr. Mayor, yes. So there are some recommendations. However, butternut trees of a certain quality can actually have development in or around them subject to ministry approval. So that would form part of this agreement.
Any other questions? Seeing none, please read the resolution.
Moved by Counselor Saney, seconded by Counselor Hennessy, that council receive report 2569 planning as information, and further that bylaw 2598 being a bylaw to authorize the mayor and clerk to enter into the severance agreement with Wayne and Claude Hancock for application PLSEBA 2025-080 be referred to the bylaw section of the agenda.
All those in favor? That is carried. 572.
Through Mr. Mayor, report 25-70 is, you're testing me, Mr. Mayor, is a recommendation to enter into an agreement for certain lands in Part Lot 2, Concession 7 of the Geographic Township of Minden with Neil and Stephanie Dunn. This came through planning initially as it was regarding property access. From property information, there is a right-of-way associated with the lands, but it's not been clearly described. The agreement would serve to place responsibility for the right-of-way with the landowners in order to allow for issuance of a building permit.
Okay, any questions? Seeing none.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Shell, seconded by Councilor McKelvey, that report 2570 planning be received as information, and that bylaw 2599 being a bylaw to authorize the mayor and clerk to enter into the indemnification agreement with Neil and Stephanie Dunn be referred to the bylaw section of the agenda.
All those in favor? That is carried. Now 2570.
Through Mr. Mayor, report 2572 is regarding a pre-consultation for consent at 1144 Hamilton Road. The property owner is proposing, in this case, both the lot addition and creation of a new lot. The lot addition would result in a new lot. So in order to maintain consistency with the official plan policy, it would really only be supportable if the new lot actually proceeds and is finalized let the lot addition only proceed once the new lot is already created. This will ensure any conditions related to the new lot would be in place and not be contrary to the official plan. Subject to supporting environmental impact study, the new lot may be supported. However, I did recommend enhanced shoreline setbacks through a zoning bylaw amendment.
Any questions? Councilor McKelvey?
So I think I read in here and now I can't find it, but like the whole lot configuration may change.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So yes, my apologies. I meant to speak to that. I'm just recommending that the southern boundary of the lot for the specific to the lot addition, that rather being kind of curvilinear like it is, that it just be straightened out. that would serve to conform to our official plan policy.
Okay, so I'm struggling with this one because there is a lot of studies that still need to come. And there is this whole, it's really not this lot, it's going to be straight. I'm just wondering if it's almost premature for us to get this approval, but.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, it's a pre-consultation, so it's just our planning opinion based on what's been submitted to us. I think with any pre-consultation, whether it's a consent that comes towards, forward to council, or if it's one that comes through other forms of Planning Act applications, there's always the possibility for some changes. I don't think the changes in this case specific to the lot addition, they don't have an overall impact to the intent of the lot creation that would occur or to the lot addition. It's just to make sure that it complies with that provision in the official plan related to irregular shaped lots. And again, yes, we're recommending that an environmental impact study be done, but again, that would be something that would come through in the formal application. This is not necessarily council's last time to comment on the application. If we received the environmental impact study and we had concern, it would come back to council as to whether or not it would be endorsed.
Councilman Kelly.
Okay, I didn't realize that then. So this doesn't automatically go to the land division then?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, so they would be able to, this pre-consultation together with any requirements the county has for submitting a complete application, that can all be submitted to the county, but we do get circulated notice of public meeting and we would receive the environmental impact study in advance. So if staff had any concern with the outcome, we would have to bring it back to council.
Okay. Any other questions? Please read the resolution.
Moved by Deputy Marshall, seconded by Councillor McKelvey, that council receive report 2572 planning as information and that council recommend approval of the application for a new lot and lot addition from lands identified as 1144 Hamilton Road to the County of Haliburton Land Division, subject to demonstrating conformity to the township's official plan and further subject to conditions outlined in the pre-consultation report.
All those in favor? As carried. Thank you. Will tell us how much March and April costing.
End of March, yes. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you to council. The report before you today is a follow-up to the July 31st report where we outlined some of the impacts of the March and April ice storm. This report is really focused on the Municipal Ice Storm Assistance Grant, which is a one-time grant related to that event, where we can apply for financial reimbursement for a number of the costs. So I've outlined the MISA program for you. And the other thing that is a requirement is a council resolution or direction that we are seeking assistance. So as part of the resolution, there is a request that council directs myself to make application on behalf of the township that we're seeking assistance. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Just one comment on this is that, where we lose a little bit is the fact the way our collective agreement is and how traditionally we've worked is that people don't have to take overtime pay, they can take time in lieu. And so if we were paying them overtime, we could collect reimbursement, but time in lieu we can't, And so there are a couple of things that we end up paying for, which is the 85,000 plus that it's going to cost us over and above what we get reimbursed, but at least we get reimbursed for a good chunk of our costs. Councilor McKelvey.
And it's more than what they used to do, because they used to just do 2% of the levy was your problem. So I do question this overtime business though. So the ones that aren't in the union, and worked overtime, we were able to claim that because they would, like, they wouldn't have been part of their 3 weeks, I don't think, would it?
Right. We have analyzed that which we can claim as part of this analysis.
Most of it with, you know, fire, roads, things like that, they're all, well, not fire, roads in particular were the ones, and they are all union. So anyway, we're getting as much back as we can. I think we should thank the county also because they did help us out, I guess, and bring this together a little bit.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes, we've worked closely with the county throughout.
Any questions? Read resolution.
Moved by Counselor Sisson, seconded by Counselor McKelvey, that council receive report 2535 administration, March 2025 ice storm cost recovery for information. That council of the corporation of the Township of Minden Hills hereby directs the CAO to apply for financial support under the Municipal Ice Storm Assistance Program to offset incremental costs already paid and includes estimated future costs. And further, that council delegates authority to the treasurer to verify and attest to the accuracy of the application package.
All those in favor? That is carried. I think
Yeah, really.
I think it's just back to the previous one. I think it also notes that, you know, all the work that staff did, particularly right through the whole emergency and keeping track of all these numbers. This was not a small job. So they did a wonderful job of getting these numbers so that we could put this package together. So, Deputy Clerk is there already. Really want to rub in the fact that summer is over. And so go ahead.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. So we have a report from regarding the Santa Claus Parade. Community Services has submitted an application for a road closure on Saturday, November the 15th from 11 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. We have circulated this as required by the policy to the police, paramedics, fire, our roads, both county and township. And we haven't received any comments back negative in regards to this.
So this is a slightly different route this year.
It does appear from the previous year. They are turning on to,
Newcastle.
yes.
They've always, they've
No, they've always done just that little circle and now they're going up Newcastle to Milne. Down. There we
It's always the same.
They always go out there and then turn left and go on
To Mill, come down, back down to the township office.
I thought we always used to make the quick turn.
That is Mill. That's our street.
Oh, I thought it said on the map, it looked like it was going up to St. Germain. Regardless, we're gonna still approve it. All right. Any questions other than mine, ill-founded, as it was? All right, read the resolution.
Moved by Counselor Saney, seconded by Counselor Ingram, that council receives report 2536 administration road closure request for the 2025 Santa Claus Parade as information. And further, that council approves the road closures for the Santa Claus Parade scheduled on Saturday, November the 15th, 2025 from 11 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. as follows. Starting from the arena parking lot following Parkside Street to the Bob Cajun Road to Newcastle Street to Milne Street. And further, that the CEO and clerk be provided delegated authority for approval of future road closure requests for the annual Santa Claus Parade organized by the Community Services Department, provided that policy 82 requirements and guidelines are followed.
All those in favor? That's carried. The map is
No, it's not.
What? I don't the map and file it right.
Yeah, I think you need to
I
be
think it,
careful there because the
It's-
map's right.
That's great. That's, we're right there about the farm mill sitting right. there.
Milne, Milne Street, ST. Milne Street, that's exactly where our office is.
we don't have the, anyway. We don't have the crossroad there.
Yeah, that's what's.
All right, all right, we're Santa Claus is approved for landing in November. Okay. 1573, sorry, who's?
That's me again.
Prince, is that you?
No, it's,
It's me.
Oh, that's right.
Hello, so we have the report regarding the, some of the 2026 conferences. These, the ones that are included are the well-attended events and generally require rooms booked early in advance to obtain conference rates. So
Okay,
just for
good.
information.
Thank you for that, and through you, Mayor Carter. I sat here a year ago and I think I said the exact same thing, that when this has to come to council before us for approval, probably Sheraton's already sold out by now, and none of our council members are going to get into the Sheraton. We are allowed one each per year, provided we want to do another, then it would have to come to council for approval if somebody else wasn't going, etc. So the fact that the clerk's department has to do this again
I agree.
puts us behind. Is there any way we can change the policy to say the council members, I mean, at the county, I just received an email saying, you know, you get 1 year, do you want to go to Roma? And here's your options. And I didn't have to go to a county meeting to say yes or no, because staff just knew that, oh, Lisa's going to this one or not. I'm just wondering if we can. It saves the clerk's department some work. Plus it would mean that we could get into the actual venue to stay.
Yeah,
Yep.
I agree.
So through the,
McKelvey?
so our policy doesn't say it's just 1 year. It just says it has to be prior approval. So even if we brought this earlier, so it's before everything, and then no, I think that's the county one where they limit you to 1 year. We don't limit, but if we could bring it sooner, I myself want to be at the conference hotel. So if I can't get that, I won't be going. So, and the county does get that, like they book a bunch of rooms like the second year allowed. So I don't know why we can't do that too if we had earlier approvals, but.
Go ahead.
so through the chair, to Councillor McKelvey's point, actually, that's not a problem. We can easily, bring that forward earlier. But then to, Deputy Marshall's point, I'm happy to bring forward the policy and we can amend it accordingly. We are starting to attempt slowly to look at the policies and make a few, changes anyway, so that we can just kind of move that forward on the file and bring that back.
Yeah. All right. What's your saying?
Yeah, I'm just a little confused, so I just want to make sure I'm doing it right too. I go to the AMO and Roma conferences every year, probably because I'm a Roma board member. All my expenses, except for the registration for AMO, have been paid by Roma. So I would also like to go to some other things as well. So is that acceptable? For example, last year I paid for the Healthy Democracy on my own ticket. This year I'd like if the municipality could support that, considering they're not paying for other things. So it's more than one conference, but is that acceptable in our budget and our ways of doing things? I don't know. Just to be clear, I don't want it to be,
Go ahead.
Yeah.
So through the chair, to Councillor Sani's request, we can add your request today to this resolution if council is amenable to that. Along with whoever else would like to attend. And I'll just actually indicate that it's for 2025. And then going forward, the deputy clerk will add that to the list if we don't amend it in time for the next round. But I think we'll be able to take care of this quickly.
MCO.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I think we've heard bring back a policy for council to consider that is much more streamlined than the one we have right now. So that's fair. I do think, just to give the clerk's area indication of who would be attending Roma, paid for by the municipality. And to Councillor McKelvey's point, we will work. There's often groups that book rooms, but then they give them back. We'll continue to work on that. I think for some of the other conferences, please indicate today or when we bring the policy back, there may be much more leeway for conferences, webinars, seminars throughout the year. But I am concerned about Roma, being that it's in January.
Okay, so let's, one thing at a time.
So if I may just kind of steer this, Mr. Mayor, I do have a resolution sort of crafted here. And if I can just acknowledge which conference it is, and if council wants to just advise whether or not they wish to attend, then at least we can start that process. And then if council's comfortable with that.
Sure.
Okay. So the first conference that I have is the Roma in Toronto, and it's January 18th to the 20th. Is there any member of council that wishes to attend the Roma conference?
Councillor Ingram, Councillor Johansson, go ahead.
Again, I don't want to go to a conference where I'm at another hotel, so we're not able to get into the one.
Through the chair, actually, the deputy clerk was able to secure, I believe you secured one room, correct? No, you didn't. Okay. There's yeah, so.
There is available room? Oh.
But if I may assist Councillor McKelvey, I think if we put your name down, obviously you will understand that if we can't get your room in the hosting hotel, we'll just remove you from the booking. If you're comfortable with that. You're.
Yeah.
There are other, and they're like 200 meters or 500 meters from the venue.
They're all within a block or so.
In
actually.
Toronto, they have
It's
that
not
benefit of having more.
Yeah, I realize that. I just still like the convenience of being in the hotel where the conference is. So I'm still struggling with trying to even decide whether to go, but
All right, so we have the two.
I assume we'd have Councillor Saney. We had a situation one year where you had extra expenses or something. I don't remember. It was such. So then you're going for the county? Is that?
I'm paid for by the county.
Make sure you pick the most expensive one at the county, please.
So are you comfortable, Councillor McKelvey, if I add your name then to the booking, and then we can chat it out offline
Sure.
closer to the date, like to the booking? Okay. So if I may, so if I may continue. Mr.
Go ahead.
So the next conference that I have here is Good Roads in Toronto, and that's from March 29th to April 1st. Is there any member of council interested in attending? Okay. FCM, now this is in Edmonton, and it's June 4th to the 7th. So
Have you been to Edmonton?
Yeah.
You may not be jumping up and down.
So I can cross that one off then. Thank you. Right. And then AMO in Ottawa, and that's August 16th to the 19th. So Mr. Mayor. And Councillor Saney. Okay. And Councillor Johansson, you expressed, okay.
I think they said the rooms become available beginning of January.
Perfect. We'll get the early bird rates if we can. Was that all members of council for that one? Okay, and then we've got Ontario East. Now, they haven't actually set the dates for that particular conference yet, but I believe they're in September. do we have any takers on Ontario East? Yes, please.
Counselor McKelvey recommended that conference last year, was going to go, but didn't go, last minute some changes. So I went and it was a very, very good conference. So I would encourage, at least we have one rep that we hold a spot for, whether people can decide at this time or not, I don't know.
Sir, go ahead.
I think it conflicts with council. That's where I ran into the trouble before. I haven't actually been to this conference, but I've always heard very good things about it. So that's where I was coming from, but I think it always conflicts with the date of our council meeting.
And through the chair, if you like, we can just send it an email to all members of council. I mean, if you want to say
Oh, it
today.
won't this year.
Pardon?
It won't this year.
It won't this year, okay. So would council like me just to put a member of council and then we can send it an email and clarify after? Okay. And then Councillor Saini was discussing today the AMO second annual Healthy Democracy Forum. And it's in Toronto. Yes. And it's scheduled on October the 18th and 19th. But we actually have to book those today to get like the early bird hotel rates. Is there anybody else? I know Councillor Johannesson expressed some interest. And Councillor Saini, was there anyone? No? Okay. Okay, so this is Councillor Sisson. Councillor McKelvey, are you comfortable with those amendments to include those members of council to the conference attendance?
Counselor Sisson wasn't sure what he was signing up for there.
Yeah, where am I going? Where are they sending me? Okay. We've got you. Okay. So moved by Councillor Sisson, seconded by Councillor McKelvey, that council receive report 2537 administration 2026 municipal conferences as information. And that council approves council attendance at the 2026 conferences as follows. Roma in Toronto, January 18th to the 20th. Councillor Ingram, Councillor Johannesson, and Councillor McKelvey. AMO in Ottawa, August 16th to the 19th. Mayor Carter, Councillor Saini, and Councillor Johannesson. Ontario East, staff will reach out and request a member of council for attendance. And further, that council approves Councillor Saini and Councillor Johannesson attendance at the AMO second annual Healthy Democracy Forum scheduled on October the 18th and 19th, 2025.
All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Confirming bylaw. Right, let's do the bylaws first then. And then we'll confirm them.
So Councillor McKelvey and Deputy Marshall have just removed the winter maintenance agreement bylaw from the list of bylaws. Moved by Councillor McKelvey, seconded by Deputy Marshall. Be it resolved that the following bylaws be received, read a first time, considered, read a second and third time, and finally passed with the corporate seal affixed. Bylaw 2596, AMS HSP Services Agreement. Bylaw 2597, Planning, PLZBA 2025069. Bylaw 2598, Planning, PLSEVA 2025080. Bylaw 2599, Planning, the Indemnification Agreement with Duns. And Bylaw 25101, Karen Jones Consulting, Inc. for the strategic plan.
All those in favor? That is carried. Let's confirm that.
Let's confirm. Moved by Councillor Ingram, seconded by Councillor Saini, that bylaw 25102, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council held during its meeting of September 25th, 2025, be received, read a first time, considered, read a second and third time, and finally passed with the corporate seal affixed.
All those in favor? That is carried. Adjournment.
Moved by Counselor McKelvey, seconded by Counselor Sisson. Be it resolved that the September 25th, 2025 regular council meeting is hereby adjourned at 1:10 PM.
All those in favor? It was passed. Thank you, everyone. Our next meeting is scheduled for Thursday, October the 9th. And for all you leaf peepers out there, get out early because we're probably going to have early color. And stay safe on the roads. Bye for
I've
now.
done with the maple.